Hello? Hello, everyone. Hello? 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 Look at all the beautiful people in the chat. We are live. It is Friday. It is time to stream. It's time to stream, my friends. And today, oop, wrong way. No, not wrong way. Today, we have a butt fuck ton. Oh no, I'm not supposed to swear early in the thing. Shit. YouTube doesn't like it when you swear too soon. This is already getting yellowed. Great! Okay, in case I have to, snip that out, let's start over. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Good to see all you streamers here on this fine family-friendly show. I can't say that without laughing. Today we have a butt fudge ton of topics. We have... Sorry, I'm reading the chat. We have a lot of topics, and so many topics, it might spill into tomorrow. Now, I am currently, amusing this idea of live streaming on Saturdays as well. Last week, it went really well. I think I might do it again this week. So even though I have overloaded my plate with topics tonight, we will finish them all to some capacity. I'm almost honestly, it's so funny because too often do I feel like I'm lacking in subjects and I'm hunting and digging. And then I'm going to say it as it is. I've joined Twitter in the last couple of weeks, and now I'm at the forefront of a ton of issues to talk about. I've never been a Twitter person. I am a brand spanking new baby to Twitter, or X. I don't give a fuck what you call it. X, I guess. Brand new baby to X. And it's been quite the roller coaster so far, and I've just, joined. So a lot of the topics that I'm learning about isn't directly sourced from Twitter. You know, Twitter is a hub of information. So somebody will post on something, you'll read the article, you'll discover that topic, you'll start looking it up, you'll start doing your own research, all this and that. And so yeah, it's definitely a hub of information. Now, the reason I've never joined X before is, one, I just haven't had an interest, because I have been partial to Instagram, and I was really heavy on Instagram at one point in my life. In fact, that's where I got my start in posting on social media. But because I could never really stick to the past versions of myself, I've completely deleted my old Instagram accounts, which in some way I kind of regret. Looking back, I'm I wish I would have just kept that up just to serve as some sort of diary of my life, even if what I did in the past, whatever I've said and posted was really cringe or awkward or just ugh. Because I feel we all have those moments, right? We all have those moments where we look at something we posted 5 or 10 years ago, but we've come to a new awareness, but we look at what we said in the past and we're just who the fuck are you? So, I've deleted a lot of old accounts. I've deleted a lot of old art. By the way, I do have a backlog of old art that I've saved. So there's a ton of stuff I saved from my past versions. I've gone through so many versions of myself in the last 5 years. I'm pretty much like David Bowie. All right. But I like myself now. Where am I going with this? Okay, yeah. So anyways, I used to be like heavily on Instagram and that kind of fell through, and now I'm like really invested in YouTube since the pandemic. That's been my thing. And so now I'm just feeling too comfortable, right? Like I'm too comfortable. I'm so comfortable in my YouTube, Facebook zone that I'm like, I just, it's very not stimulating. So I'm like, what the fuck? I'm going to join X. And so I finally just started and I'm just like, it's so interesting starting a new platform that you're new to. It's like, well, what do I do? So I'm like, well, I have no like followers, obviously there. Like, I don't really, and I looked at the Neogenian tag. There's like 3 of us. And so I'm like, all right, I'll follow all those people. And so it's just like, what do I do? Like, how do I start to establish myself within a new platform? Not a brand new platform, but new to me. So I'm just like, I'm just going to start looking up things or searching things that I'm interested in looking at. So like topics I'm interested in, you know, I started looking up like philosophy stuff. So I'm like, all right, I'll follow that. And then, you know, I'm really into trans rights. So I'm like, I'm looking into that. And then I just start following people. And then I just start commenting, like with random strangers, just commenting on the things, just like, you know, just being like, that's interesting. Or like, wow, that's awesome. Or, oh, that's sad. You know, just like things that aren't really engaging, but just kind of like put myself there. And then I post my own stuff. So it's awkward. It feels like baby walking. It's been a long time since I've started a new platform. And the other reason I haven't started Twitter, that I was going to say, because like the first reason is I just wasn't interested and I was mostly into Instagram at the time. The other reason I haven't been a part of X is, Elon Musk. Okay. I don't like the guy. I think it's stupid. And so it just seems really odd, right? Like, why, Jen, of all times, are you joining X now, especially with Elon Dickbag in charge of things? And it's like, well, yes, true. That there's some fucking horrendous shit going on there. However, as much as I hate that, and by the way, things like Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are less ambiguous, you know, like Elon Musk is just kind of like right out there but it's like, you know, all social media platforms are pretty much censored in a way and controlled by people that if you looked into, you really wouldn't like. So I'm like, okay, so what's the difference between me being on this versus that? Like being on the lesser evils of platforms. However, Twitter is a big hub of information. And as much as I dislike Elon Musk being in charge of that, it's still a hub of information. And the places where information is put out, that's where the power is in the world, right? So it's like, okay, I'm going to dive into the trenches, like quite literally. I'm going to stop being, you know, somebody on the sidelines, and I'm literally going to go into the trenches. So it's been a really crazy experience, and in some ways good because it gets me out of my comfort zone, but also bad because the stuff that I'm uncomfortable about is not surprising, but just, like, it's not surprising, but it's still overwhelming. So anyways, have I been ranting? Or not ranting. Have I been, like, going on too long? Let's say hello to some of the beautiful people in the chat. Why is my stream bitrate lower than what's recommended? I swear, every other week, it's like, your bitrate is off. It's like, I don't know what you want! I don't understand these things. If anybody understands bitrates and shit, like, let me know. So let's say hello to some beautiful people in the chat. We have Cassie, one of our wonderful moderators. Thank you so much for coming. Angelica says the old Jan accounts went hard, not gonna lie. You know, I feel bad because it's like I miss that part of me too. I think the pandemic depression and when I had that back injury or those back problems, like when the pandemic hit, it really shifted my world. It was really shitty. I got depressed. My back started having some serious problems. I had like MRI scans and things like that. And it took so long for me to like get back. So, you know, I feel like I was knocked off my sort of creative train for a while. But as much as I've hated it, it is presented a huge opportunity to know myself deeper, on a deeper level. Because before I was very like fast acting, like instant results. And now I feel like I'm more paced out. Totally more paced out and just a bit more reserved. And coming back to that place where I once was, in a way, it's like, you know, it's like a spiral. It seems like you're going in a circle and coming back to that place where you were, but it's at an elevated level. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like around the same place, but it's like up a level. It's like when you take a slinky and stretch it out. So it's not like a circular progression. It's like, it is circular, but it's like spiraling up. So there's going to be a renaissance coming soon, I feel. Like a Janissance. The Janissance is coming soon. Anyways, good to see you, Angelica. Hello, Brent. Hello, Laura. Hello, Neogenian Cord. Hello, Cassidy. Good to see you. Janissance. Yes, the Janissance. Trust me, it's happening. Hashtag Janissance. Janissance. The Janissance. Hey, Roxy. So, fuck. So many topics today, my friends. We have an update and more information with Next Benedict. As much as I would have not liked to talk about J.K. Rowling, I'm going to talk about J.K. Rowling because it gets deeper. The lore gets deeper. And as a commentator and witness to the atrocities of this holos, I will review it. We're going to introduce ourselves to a person called Liz Truss, a woman named Liz Truss, which is sort of a bridge of from J.K. Rowling. It actually all kind of bridges together. So, you know, with Next Benedict, we're still talking about trans rights. And by the way, hello, I'm going to be talking about that a lot. Just, you know, videos, everything otherwise. If you like that, great. If you don't, feel free to leave. So that's why that topic comes up a lot with me. Why? Because I'm non-binary and trans. Anyways, so we have Next Benedict, J.K. Rowling, who is like horrifically transphobic. We're going to dive into that. Liz Truss, also transphobic, and a sort of what you would call a politician in the UK. So we're going to start getting into, I mean, you know, we talk about politics in the US. We got to start learning about politics everywhere else, you know? It is possible. Liz Truss has tried to present a bill, an anti-trans bill, you know, preventing trans women from entering cis women, quote unquote, women's spaces, shit like that. Speaking of shit that's going on over there, Andrew Tate. Remember Andrew Tate? Something funny is happening with Andrew Tate. Our old boy, what is it? Incel lord. We're going to be talking about American politics. Andrew Tate, I feel like, is a bridge. So we're going to go back to American politics. We're going to do Joe versus... I said Joe versus Biden in my notes. That's so funny. So we got Joe Biden versus Trump. Because as much as I don't want to acknowledge that reality, it's happening again this year, folks. The old Trump versus Biden. I'm going to briefly bring up Mike Pence, which isn't really a subject in and of itself. I just put that down there because I need to mention Mike Pence. And then there's the situation. There's a lot. Okay. Are you locked in? Are you keeping up? Recently on the platter, a supposed quote unquote TikTok ban. Lots of interesting political stuff to do with TikTok right now. And then last but not least, a politician, Chuck Schumer, and what he had said. That's kind of just tagged at the end there. I don't know why. We'll see if we get to that. But we have a lot to discuss. And a lot of this stuff that information is coming about now. And we're going to be keeping up with shit as it comes out. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be live streaming tomorrow. Yes, Andrew Tate, the incel king. So lots of shit to go on tonight. Lots of topics. But before we start diving in, we will just kind of hang out a little bit. And by the way, as we go along these topics, feel free to ask questions. And I don't mean about me or Neogenian stuff. I mean just about what we're talking about. Feel free to ask me about what the fuck we're going to discuss. We got some sodas here. I really wish I had the tiniest of mini fridge, or maybe at least a cooler, just so I don't have to leave to go get a new drink. So if anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, or if you want to join the chaos, I'm not going to force you to or suggest you do so, but if you would like to, I am on Twitter. If you would like to be a Neogenian representing on Twitter, come over. There's only a few of us. I'm not saying you should. I don't think you should, really. But, if you want to dive into... Because, another part of joining Twitter is a morbid curiosity. Because I hear it's terrible. And just as a forewarning, people are really mean on Twitter. I mean, really mean on Twitter. So if you're the type of person who is easily razzled and offended and pearl clutching, you might avoid it. Now me, I don't coin myself as a pearl clutcher. Never have. And I refuse to be so. But there has been some comments that I see, not by official people, but just people, commentating, those weird accounts with no profile pics or real names. Some of the shit they say is wow. Wow. There is no filter on Twitter. What is going on? The reflection... the reflection looks like a little tiny halo over my head? No. God, I got to get the demon horns on these pair of headphones. Like, I still need to install. I'm still planning on modding these headphones to have my horns back on it. I need to bring that back, obviously, because if we're seeing me with a halo, I don't know. Twitter is very unhinged and angry. But there's also... But I don't know if it's good per se, but it's just a fact that there's just a ton of fucking information rapidly coming to Twitter like that, like as soon as it happens. And I need to be where the information is being shared. I don't like it, but it's the path I've chose. By the way, if for those members who did not know, we have 2 new emojis. We have the dunce cap and the no mint. We might be using the dunce cap a lot today. All right. If you are ready to begin, flood the chat with the Demon Daemon emoji. And by the way, thank you so much, Laura, for the super chat. That's so nice of you. Laura is always there, like, in the chat. Like, before we even get started, cheering me on and making me laugh. It's very inviting. Like, if you're not in the pre-stream convo, you better be. And you notice how I changed the membership icon to the little demon? Because I want you all to be like a daemon. A daemon is not the same thing as a demon, but people get them conflated that I think it's funny to do that. Like, symbolically, like, not symbolically, just like visually, but like, each of you are a little daemon. Yes, I pointed at the halo. That's why I'm talking about the headphones needing horns. That's my ring light camera. Or ring light camera. My ring light. That's in front of my face, like right here. It's actually really bright. I think I'm going to turn it down. It's kind of in my face. I mean, I can tolerate it for now, but like after a while, it's like, oi. Oi. Hello, heretical response. So a daemon, real fast, the one I kind of ascribe to is the one kind of described by Carl Jung. Let's see. That is not the right thing. What in the world? Am I getting my shit mixed? I think I might be. My shit's flipped, yo. I mean, which makes sense, I guess. I just forget. New setup, folks. There we go. So there's actually two different ways to do Daemon, and there's actually different ways to pronounce it too, like a Daemon or Daemon. Daemon versus Daemon. So in mythology, Wikipedia. Well, I mean. If you want current facts about, like, political issues and shit, like, don't look at Wikipedia. But for just, like, fucking regular-ass shit, I mean, it's not bad. So, Plato speculated that the word daemon, deity, is synonymous to daemon, knowing or wise. However, it is more probable, blah, 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 blah. What's the difference between daemon and daemon? Oh, demon and daemon. No. I'm looking for this. So the ancient Greek daemon or daemon. I don't know. It's like, it's so weird. It's like so many different ways you can like pronounce that. So I finally just settled on daemon. Or daemon, if you want to be fancy, like Jan Daemon. You know how Philip is like Felipe Chupe? I'm like Jan Daemon. Like that, you know what I mean? But anyways, it's meaning God, godlike, power, fate. Originally referred to a lesser deity or guiding spirit such as the daemons of ancient Greek religion and mythology. And blah, 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 blah. So just kind of this weird thing. So daemons are lesser divinities or spirits, often personifications of abstract concepts, beings of the same natural nature as both mortals and deities. So this is the kind of description I feel like is interesting to me right now. Like, I feel like I'm in that between stage of a mortal and a deity. Like, in a way, I'm both at the same time, and I'm none at all, but it's like, so that's why it's interesting to me. So according to this motherfucker's myth, great and powerful figures were to be honored after death as a daemon. A daemon is not so much a type of quasi-divine being, according to Brigitte, but rather a non-personified, peculiar mode of their activity. So anyway, whatever. Like, let's listen to, like, Jung about that. So, in the grip of the daemon, which could be daemon, whatever. I just say daemon because, like, I just can't fucking be bothered to split hairs on that. I really don't. Like, I can't be bothered to split hairs. So, anyways, my definition and usage of the various terms in the following essay, Waking Up, Leapfrogging, The Forest, are found in the initial essays in the blog collections. See the entries, post, front, matter, and introduction, blah, 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 blah. Let's just go down here. So the word daemon is Greek deriving from blah, to divide or distribute destinies. The daemon is the energy or being in the universe that gives us our fate or allots human destiny, i.e. a god/goddess. The Romans took up the term, which became the source of our English derivative demon, but note that in the original meaning and the sense in which Jung used it, daemon is not the negative thing we associate with demons. Being well versed in the classics, Jung brought many ancient concepts into modern usage psychology to foster our understanding of the workings of the unconscious. The daemon became a central part of his thinking about vocation, motivation, creativity, and the individual's potential for achieving fulfillment in life. As Jung used the term daemon, referred to something alien from the unconscious, an archetype or numinous imperative from which ancient times has been accorded a far higher authority than the human intellect. As an archetype, the daemon is universal, something experienced in all peoples and cultures. Among indigenous tribes, it shows up as a primitive power concept. As an autonomous psychic content, the daemon is a force as real as hunger and the fear of death. Because it is autonomous, it behaves within us like a god, making demands of us and acting with authority. Honestly, I could go on. You could read more into that, especially in, this is a pretty good, synopsis of that, but, if you want to read more, especially into Jung's idea of the daemon, it's a really interesting thing. So that's why I chose the thing daemon. So, I am Jan Daemon. I'm a daemon. I'm a daemon of the internet. I'm a mysterious creature of the in-between. Something that represents the weirdness of the unconscious. Something that somehow gives advice or direction. Or splitting of ideas. I split the ideas. Splitting them, honeys. Okay, sorry. So, anyways. That is what that is. And that's why I am what I am as far as an online persona. Which is just a persona. And not the real person that I am. Funny how that works. I feel like I need a snack. Yeah. So anyways, yes, topics tonight, and Daemon. I just say Daemon. It's just easier that way. Daemon. Can we talk about Rex? Rex? You mean Nex? Yeah, I was just going to get into Nex. So, recently, it has been released that Nex, there's been a medical examiner's release, but just a part of it where the medical examiner determined thus far that Nex's death is due to ending his own life. Due to a toxic combination of medications. This answers enough for people who don't like the idea that transphobia was involved in this. You know, those people who are like, this isn't a transphobic case. People like Chaya Rychek, you know, Libs of TikTok women that we covered, you know, the one that couldn't pass the fucking mirror test. That horrible interview that we looked at with that crazy transphobic lady who just could not answer a question, like, to save her fucking life. So, like, people like her are just like, oh, guess what? Nex was not ended because of the trauma from the beating, it was, self-induced and just totally like running with that. And it's like pretty much jumping the gun, I would say personally, only because they want that to suit their narrative. And honestly, after being on X for a while, I'm so tired of people in narratives, no matter where it goes. Just and not there, not to say that all narratives are trash. That's not what I mean. Just the very concept of narratives. I'm like, I have some thoughts here and some feelings, but a lot of thoughts. Like, I really would like to dive deeper into the concept of narratives because, frankly, it's exactly the same thing as talking about reality tunnels in Neogenian terms. Narratives, reality tunnels, I mean, pretty much the same conversation there. So they talk about reality tunnels, they talk about narratives. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So the information has come out that, and the police have said that now it's just, it's just that. So, I've been getting into The Advocate. The Advocate is a really good place to hear about LGBTQ issues that's actually, supported by the majority of LGBTQ people. That's not just like, hyperbole, this, that, and the other, but just like really looking into things and making sure, things are correct. So far, I really like it. I can't say that it's perfect and the reason is because I'm new to it. But so far, the articles I've read and the sources that they provide that I look into are accurate. And perhaps it is I think to a degree, all news outlets are biased if you look at it, but this is very supportive of LGBTQ issue. Do they have an about? Do they have an about section? I don't know. Anyways, but really good at citing their sources. Where's their about section? Video, trying to understand. Advocate, print, digital, give or gift review. They don't have an about, like literally just no about section. That's weird. Staff, career opportunities, advertise with us, privacy about chairs, use, staff. Yeah, pretty good. Everything they post so far, I like. It's well researched. Obviously, people who don't like this stuff would say that it's crap, but that's kind of how it goes, right? Anybody with the opposing views that you have, you discredit. Not to say that I mean, it's really hard because I have seen bad representative media as well. That is so bad I question if it's actually like made by more conservative people. So let us read this issue. So what's brought up is that Nex supposedly ended his own existence through the combination of medications. That's what's on the medical examiner's report. And I actually do have it here. The actual PDF file. So this is the Board of Media Collegial, a word I've never seen before in my life, investigations officer of the chief medical examiner. And it shows the place. Oh, you can't see it. Funny how that works when you can't see things. So this is the official medical examiner's report. Personal information has been redacted. Basic information, location, dates. And this is all the information we have. So, I don't know, this is kind of odd because I'm just like, really? All of this? And it's like, no, this is not all of it. This is not the whole thing. So, description of body, the things that was checked. External physical examination. Jaw, neck, legs, things like that. Liver, red, purple, posterior, external, blah, blah, blah thing. So, it's like, so pretty much significant observations and injury documents, please use space below. The descent was 16 years old. With diphenhydramine and fluoxetine combined toxicity. So, interesting how these are facts. So the diphenhydramine is an allergy pill. It's literally an allergy pill. And the fluoxetine is an antidepressant and anti-anxiety. Two things that I currently take, like a lot of people take. That's a very common thing. But the death was ruled as a combined toxicity. Odd. Don't you think? And by the way, there is such thing as bad police work or bad work in this regard. Like, it is possible. Like, it should be criticized, or it should be held under scrutiny, or it should be investigated further. But this is all people have. And this is what the anti-trans sort of crew looks to for confirmation that they don't have anything to do with. Which, by the way, I don't believe specific individuals are directly responsible. I think very indirectly, in a way, they're definitely contributing to it, but I understand when people say things like Chaya Rychek killed Nex Benedict. Like, I understand that. I understand, like, what they actually mean behind that. But obviously, I recognize that Chaya Rychek did not personally put her hands on Nex Benedict, right? You know what I mean? It's like, I understand that. So I try to choose my words carefully. But the anti-trans movement freaks, I don't fucking know what to call them. Idiots. They're really taking this and they're like, oh, look, see, we're not responsible for Nex's death. It's like, nobody's saying you directly did something. However, you really help to not only encourage, but you literally provide the environment in which it's okay to look at this stuff and just not take it to heart, not take it seriously, disregard the whole trans aspect, and sort of posture yourself in, like, do like a virtue signaling in your own way to be like, look, I had nothing to do with this. I have nothing to do with trans despair or trans hate or anything like that. It's like, okay, but you're missing the point here. So that's where we're at now with this sort of supposed combinate, but see, it's such a weird note to me, okay? Like, obviously, I'm no medical expert, but like, when providing information, I thought it would have been more thorough than this. And my next question is, where's the toxicology report? Because that's where the actual like numbers and levels of things in the blood are provided, right? That's where the information is provided. Now, granted, only certain things can be provided to the public, right? People have a right to medical privacy. However, a lot is riding on the information of exactly what happened to Nex. And it's getting weird to me. This doesn't sit right with me. This doesn't make sense to me. This doesn't make sense to me. I need more information. I think this is enough information for anti-trans people. Or gender critical people, if you will. I think this is enough for them to take that and work with that. But it's not enough for me. Because I'm not trying to like put up some like weird fucking like ideology, but so this is weird. So here's a really good article about this situation where the advocate spoke with experts about the risk of these drugs. They spoke with toxicology experts. A couple of them. One or two, I don't know. They spoke with some experts, okay? They're going to say here, because I don't memorize things, okay? So, here we go. The death of Nex Benedict, a 16-year-old transgender student of indigenous heritage from Oklahoma, who used he, him, they, and them pronouns, has ignited a nationwide debate on several issues, including the rampant bullying faced by the LGBTQ+ students in schools and the manner of Benedict's death. A one-page summary autopsy report released by the Oklahoma Office of Chief Medical Examiner on Wednesday, attributing Nex Benedict's death to unaliving through combined toxicity from fluoxetine, which is Prozac. So Prozac and Benadryl. So the examiner said that Nex's death was from a combination of Prozac and Benadryl. And that's confusing because there's a ton of people who are on those very combinations. So why isn't this like a big thing? Like, if this is such a risk, like, and where's the, like, how much did Nex take? We don't hear about that. So let's how much would it take? Let's go into this. So anyways, the combined toxicity from Prozac and Benadryl has led to public skepticism and demands for more detailed information because of the report's brevity. Benedict died February 8th, one day after he was assaulted by a group of girls in Owasso High School bathroom. A full report is expected to be released. Oh, so we still don't even have the full report yet, March 27th. Keep in mind, there's such thing as bad police work, and sometimes police do good work, and a lot of the times they don't. So that's a whole nother conversation, but I just, no, I don't trust police. I really don't. They've been known to do really shitty, shoddy work in a lot of extreme murder cases. Okay. In their response to the summary report from the medical examiner, Benedict's family, through their legal representation, sought to bring attention to the details of physical injuries that are not fully covered by the initial classification of Benedict's death. They pointed out details from the full autopsy report that, while it stated no lethal trauma, listed several significant injuries. So supposedly, the report says, or the report does say, it says no lethal trauma, but it still listed several significant injuries, not just little injuries. So they included bruises around Benedict's right eye and on the right side of their face, minor cuts on their right cheek and ear, and scrapes on both ears and left cheek, along with bleeding under the scalp. Bleeding under the scalp on the teen's chest. There was a scrape and a contusion, which, along with specific type of bruising, was likely from attempts to save his life through CPR. Okay, there's that. Additionally, Benedict's limbs showed a mix of fresh and healing bruises, scrapes, and scars, particularly noticeable on the back of their left hand, according to the family. By sharing these details, the family aimed to highlight the extent of physical harm Benedict experienced, countering any suggestion that the assault he faced was minor and urging for a fuller examination of events leading to his death. You can get a second opinion with medical examiners. Okay, it's the same thing as doctors with diagnoses. You can get second opinions. You know, when one doctor says something, it's not necessarily set in stone, perfectly right and correct. It doesn't mean they're completely off base and shouldn't be trusted. But I definitely think a second opinion and maybe even a third opinion is needed for this. So, in their response to the summary report from the medical examiner, Benedict's family, through their legal representation, sought to bring attention to the details of physical injuries not fully covered by the initial classification of Benedict's death. They pointed out details from the full autopsy report that, while stated, okay, I'm just reading over this again. Sorry. I just read I started that paragraph all over again. Ignore that. Erase. So GLAD President and CEO Sarah K. Ellis urged restraint in reporting findings without the full context of the report, saying Nex's family accurately notes how the report released this week does not reflect the full picture of what happened to Nex, and continues to urge accountability of those who failed to keep Nex and all students in Oklahoma safe from bullying, harassment, assault, and most brutally, death. Media must continue to question those who release information prematurely and incompletely in this investigation and demand answers about the abysmal response to a horrific assault in a public school bathroom and the state-sponsored bullying that led up to it. Because let's keep the bigger picture in mind here, okay? Oklahoma State, they very much encourage not accepting trans people, this, that, and the other. What did that fucker say? Oklahoma. No, I don't want to subscribe to your shitty thing. I have so many goddamn windows open. And there's too many things that like pop up. Now I just closed it. Oh my god. I'm a mess. We'll look it up right here. It was like this Oklahoma. It was like this filth statement. Oh, shit. Hold on. Technical difficulties. Everyone stay with me. Nobody drop out. So the senator of Oklahoma is very much anti-trans.
Republican state, supermajority in the House and Senate. I represent a constituency that doesn't want that filth in Oklahoma.
That is State Senator Tom Woods referring to the LGBTQ plus community as, quote, filth during a public event last week. The comments came after an audience member asked Woods about legislation targeting the LGBTQ plus community. That audio was recorded by the Tahlequah Daily Press.
We are a religious state. We are going to fight to keep that filth out.
Let me just start this over to keep in mind, because again, like I said, the bigger picture is necessary here. Nex lives in Oklahoma. There's this weird issue about Nex and the medical examiner's report. And here's this state that Nex is living in, run by a senator who's very much anti-trans to the point where he refers to LGBTQ stuff as quote unquote filth.
A Republican state, supermajority in the House and Senate. I represent a constituency that doesn't want that filth in Oklahoma.
That is State Senator Tom Woods referring to the LGBTQ plus community as, quote, filth during a public event last week. The comments came after an audience member asked Woods about legislation targeting the LGBTQ plus community. That audio was recorded by the Tahlequah Daily Press.
We are a religious state. We are going to fight to keep that filth out of the state of Oklahoma because we're a Christian state. We're a moral state.
On Monday, Senate Pro Tem Greg Tree called Woods' comments inappropriate and said that he spoke with the state senator. He went on to say, quote, his remarks were not in any way reflective of myself, the Senate Republican caucus, Senate leadership, or the Senate overall. In my opinion, he had a serious lapse of judgment. Meanwhile, other elected Republicans took a much stronger approach, like State Labor Commissioner Leslie Osborne, who said Woods' comments disgusted her. In a statement, she said, quote, a faction emerged within the Republican Party characterized by hate and divisiveness, overshadowing the principles the party once held dear.
So, I mean, there's that. So it seems like there's a lot of eyes on this very anti-trans, very anti-LGBTQ senator. And, you know, the declaration that it is a religious state and has Christian morals. Okay, and then keep that in mind with all of the anti-trans social media stuff that's going on and how popularized it is. So anyways, let's backtrack. Nexus Family accurately notes how the report released this week, the medical examiner's report does not reflect the full picture of what happened to Nex. This is a perfect example of how you can take a fact and represent it differently. You can take a fact such as on the medical examiner's report, it said that Nex unalived himself, and anti-trans people can take that just because it is a fact that there is an existing medical examiner report that says that, and they're going to run with it prematurely because it works for them. Okay. But the family and the bigger issue here, says otherwise. So anyways, look into the bigger picture of what happened to Nex. And the family continues to urge accountability of those who failed to keep Nex and all students in Oklahoma safe from bullying, harassment, and assault, mostly brutally death. Media must continue to question those who release information prematurely and incompletely in this investigation and demand answers about the abysmal response to a horrific assault in a public school bathroom and the state-sponsored bullying. And that's what that means by state-sponsored bullying, because it is sponsored by the state. Our hearts remain with Nex's family as they endure their unbearable loss. Families deserve to know their children's safety and stuff like that. Okay. Now, another fact that is being misrepresented is that Nex started the fight. Now, that is a true fact. Kind of. Nex started the physicality of the fight. Not the like the verbal part, the insinuation, the underlying nuance, but simply started it off by taking his water bottle and pouring some water on the girls that were making fun of him. And that fact is being used as a way to say that Nex deserved it. Now, do you think, personally, that pouring some water on somebody, which isn't nice, obviously, that's not nice, but do you think that deserves to have you ganged up on and have your head picked up and thrown into the ground? Like, have you be ganged up on by 3 people? If you pour water on some people, is it fair then for you to be ganged up on and have your head bashed into ceramic tile floors? Especially in the instance of like kids in school. Now, no, it wasn't nice to throw the water on it, but those girls, what they should have done is leave immediately and go tell a teacher, go tell the principal, go tell somebody. But the fact that there's a lot of justification being brought here about, the girls literally beat the fuck out of Nex for some water, suddenly that's justified. Does that make sense to you? Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's warranted? Do you think that's fair? Do you think that works? Over some water. Boo fucking who? I don't think pouring water on somebody, which may legally be technically assault or battery or whatever, I don't think that justifies the direct harm to the body. Water doesn't harm. Water doesn't harm. Being wet isn't dangerous. Let's put it that way. Being wet with water isn't dangerous. Having your head bashed into the ground is. Does that make sense to you? Do you see how anti-trans people take that? Oh, Nex started the fight as a justification that Nex deserved to be brutalized that way? Anyways. So we're going back to this issue that on the medical examiner's report, it says that Nex died due to a combination of, what was it, Prozac and Benadryl. God, I have to pee. I don't want to have to pee right now, but I have to pee. We're going to get, the advocate spoke to Dr. Joshua King, a medical director of the Maryland Poison Center at the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy, and Dr. Masha Yemetz, a clinical toxicology fellow at the same institution, to gain insight into the risks associated with Prozac and Benadryl, particularly in overdose scenarios. I have to pee. We're going to get into what these two professionals and experts in toxicology have to say about this. Okay. Cue the P screen. Okay. We're back. And I have some olives stuffed with minced pimento as a snack. Ugh. God, they're so oily. I have a barbecue skewer. These are just like green olives. They're like bobbing up and down. There's too much juice. And we're in. Yes, green olives. These are like martini olives. Now I want a martini. Or like a dirty martini. Just some like vodka with a vermouth. Ugh. Vermouth. Ugh. When I was a dumb kid, I tried to take a pure shot of vermouth. Came faster out than it went in. Don't ask me why I did it. So anyways, toxicology experts. What do they have to say? Both said that they couldn't comment definitively on Benedict's death without the full autopsy report and associated toxicology data. So there's missing data from this. There is missing data on this issue. So clearly they can't say whether or not. They don't have access to all the data. But they agreed that both of the medications reported to be in Benedict's system are commonly taken and pose a low risk of dangerous interactions when used correctly. The Benadryl is an antihistamine taken for allergies, and the Prozac is for depression and anxiety. In general, in therapeutic use, meaning taking it as prescribed or directly, death, while not an impossibility, would be very, very uncommon. King said, noting that while most overdoses do not lead to death, they can significantly, they can cause significant harm, sometimes causing the patient to require hospitalization. So the Benadryl, I don't have it up. So the Benadryl and the Prozac part, or the Benadryl and the Prozac, are part of a larger group of medications that, in vast majority of cases, are used safely by millions of people. The risk of death from these medications, especially when used as directed, is extraordinarily low. King explained that while most people would be unlikely to suffer adverse effects from these medications, those with underlying conditions could be at risk. It's possible that the medications could interact in someone who had an undiagnosed heart condition, meaning that these medications can cause a particular type of heart arrhythmia called torsades. But that would be very, very, very rare in normal use. I'm not going to say it's impossible, King said, pointing out that such cases often come to light posthumously when an investigation reveals a previously unknown congenital or inherited heart condition. So it's like, in rare cases, there is this thing, but they don't figure it out until the person's gone. So he emphasized the rarity of fatal outcomes in normal therapeutic use, but acknowledged the serious risks associated with overdoses, including serotonin syndrome, which can happen if you overtake your antidepressants or some antidepressants. Like my medication, if I overtook that, I would have serotonin poisoning. So the serotonin syndrome, which can lead to confusion, hallucinations, agitation, and in severe cases, seizures, and potentially fatal respiratory complications. Most of those overdoses are treated. This is something we do fairly commonly at the poison center, he added. The vast majority don't result in death, but if you take enough of it, especially with a confounding factor such as another sedative medication, it is possible. So if that's the way that Nex truly unalived himself, if that is the case, it would have to be a fucking lot. Because even in cases where you do overdose with these two things, it's still something that poison control centers know how to deal with. So what the hell happened? Were the medics that were treating Nex incompetent? That's a good question. I don't want to point fingers, but possibly. Oh my god, these olives are so good. All right, last olive. So Yametz added, the majority of the time whenever poison control centers are called, there's something that was found on the scene or something that was reported by the family member, caregiver, or patient themselves. Which, alludes that there's been some exposure or ingestion. This information allows medical professionals to assess the situation and tailor their responses accordingly and accurately. She pointed out that without such initial reports, determining the exact cause of symptoms can be challenging, though the absence of this information doesn't prevent the use of standard medical interventions. King provided a nuanced explanation regarding the progression of deterioration following an overdose involving medication like those in question. Death, again, is very rare from these poisons, but we would say in the case of an overdose, general complications can lead to seizures and aspiration. Aspiration means that vomit goes down into the lungs, which can quickly lead to death. The quickest cause of death, however, would be erythemia, King says, indicating the rapid onset of severe symptoms that could occur within an hour or two of ingestion. He emphasized the importance of thorough medical examination and toxicology reports in such causes. I think no matter how you slice it, it's a terrible tragedy. It's crucial to determine how much of this tragedy is due to the circumstances we've heard about, such as the anti-trans shit and the beating, or how much is a matter of unaliving prevention. In the wake of Benedict's death, the Rainbow Youth Project, a nonprofit that supports LGBTQ plus young people, has seen an exponential increase in calls to the crisis lines by LGBTQ youth seeking support. So, ever since next Benedict's death, there's been a lot of incoming calls from kids, needing support. So this does affect other kids, Regarding young people being prescribed antidepressants such as fluoxetine, in addition to those possibly using diphenhydramine for allergies, King emphasized the need to avoid causing alarm among patients and their guardians. Discontinuing prescribed medications due to fear stirred by individual cases might lead to more harm than the medication itself, he noted. It would be more dangerous if somebody were prescribed this medication for depression and heard about this case and said, oh, this is dangerous, I'm going to stop taking it, and then ended up having a complication due to untreated depression, he said. He also stressed the necessity of waiting for the full autopsy report for a more accurate understanding, saying it seems unlikely that such findings would be in the medical examiner's report without some access to analytical data. The levels found typically give us an indication of whether there was an overdose or regular use. Information crucial yet not reported as of yet. The danger level of overdoses varies significantly from person to person, he added. It's different for everyone, and it depends on the person, but in general, we're talking about taking multiple times the prescribed dose. He cautioned against the misconception that doubling a dose might be safe, clarifying that there is a substantial difference between accidentally taking 2 or 3 times the prescribed medication dose and consuming handfuls of pills. Most serious poisonings we see involve taking 10 times more than the prescribed dose. However, it's impossible to predict exactly how somebody will react because the different bodies respond in different ways, he says. So pretty much it's like, we wouldn't know even if Nex decided to take extra medication. We won't really know if Nex decided to do it purposefully to unalive himself or if he just accidentally took too fucking much. That's another thing. In April in 2023, Morbidity and Mortality Week report by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention sheds light on the alarming trend of suspected unaliving attempts by the poisoning among young people since the COVID-19 pandemic, highlighting the involvement of common medications such as fluoxetine and this is something I've become recently aware of, like within the last year, is that there are at one point, or possibly still is, but at one point there flared up this trend of taking a lot of Benadryl, like so much that you trip. So we're talking like kids are taking like multiple pills, like 5 pills, 10 pills, 20 pills, whatever. I don't know exactly how it works. But if you take enough goddamn Benadryl, you will trip. And not really a pleasant trip either, from what I hear. Well, hello, Elise. Thank you so much for coming. So it is a thing where kids overtake Benadryl to get relief, trip, escape from the world. So I'm not saying that's what happened, but it is a possibility that that's what Nex was trying to do in order to gain some stress relief from the situation. This frequent reporting is influenced by how commonly these medications are prescribed and used, King explained. The regular appearance of these drugs on lists does not necessarily indicate that they are more dangerous than others, he said. Instead, that he suggests that their prevalence in overdose reports is mainly due to how accessible they are. People will generally overdose on what they have available, he said. Yeah, you can overdose on aspirin. You can overdose on vitamins. So as the Benedict family calls for action against bullying and hate in the schools, the community awaits the full autopsy report for more definitive answers. So we don't have the full report, but anti-trans people are jumping the gun and they're saying like, yep, this is all we need, case closed, and that's that. Odd, isn't it? Odd that they're so on top of that, right? You know who else supposedly unalived themselves without any real evidence? Marsha P. Johnson.
And now, as Hidden History series, we look back on the legacy of a larger-than-life figure in her own community. Her contributions to the fight for gay and transgender rights were, until recently, largely overlooked.
I drank my part in the gay movement this year.
She was fondly known as Saint Marcia, a central figure in New York City's gay liberation movement, a model for artist Andy Warhol, and an advocate for transgender and homeless youth. Marsha P. Johnson wore many hats, sometimes literally. They were often adorned with plastic fruit or flowers.
They call me Marsha Tate, no mind Johnson. I try and pay a lot of those things that happened to me in life. Absolutely no mind.
Assigned male at her 1945 birth in Elizabeth, New Jersey, Johnson started wearing clothes made for girls when she was 5, but felt pressured to stop after being sexually assaulted by a 13-year-old boy. As soon as she graduated from high school, she fled across the Hudson River to New York City with just $15 and a bag of clothes. There, she dressed as she pleased. While better than in her hometown, life in New York City could still be hard for those who didn't match societal norms. Cross-dressing was a crime in New York State, and Johnson was sometimes arrested simply for wearing makeup in public. Often unable to find a job and without a permanent residence, she turned to sex work.
Now let's not be pessimistic. I know it's worth a try.
Johnson really enjoyed performing in drag. She was part of a drag group called Hot Peaches and took to the stage sporting red heels and bright wigs. Even though the bohemian enclave of Greenwich Village, where Johnson lived, was the focal point of the city's gay life, police still routinely raided gay bars there. During a late-night June 1969 raid on the Stonewall Inn, patrons fought back, and the modern gay rights movement in America was born. Johnson, who was 23 at the time, has wrongly been credited with throwing the first brick of the uprising.
True.
She didn't arrive at the scene until after they came.
Yeah, a lot of people say Marsha P. Johnson threw the first brick, but really she's just like, oh, I came when that was already going on. So this is the infamous Stonewall situation that brought upon the gay rights movement, or is the most iconic part of gay rights movement.
Transgender women on the front lines that night because they said they had nothing left to lose. Johnson may not have started the Stonewall riot, but for decades to come, she was a key player in the LGBTQ plus rights movement that it sparked, even as many gay and...
That's another weird fact that anti-trans people spin. So the fact that now it's coming out that Marsha P. Johnson didn't throw the first brick, even though that's what was supposedly said, anti-trans people are coming out and saying, well, the Stonewall thing was a lie. You lied about trans people being involved with it. It wasn't a trans movement. It was a gay movement. And that's kind of like a weird manipulative tactic that they use, is they often try to say that trans people really had no part in history, or that trans activists are over embellishing their role in history to the point of saying that they're trans washing history. Now, I gotta be honest. I've seen some trans people in some cases say some really weird fucking things about people in history, okay? That I don't agree with. But that's not the whole fucking trans community, right? Like, it's just so fucking ridiculous. Just like I think that TERFs don't represent all of women, right? The same courtesy isn't extended the other way. Anyways, that's just another example of how you can take a fact and you can twist it to your narrative.
Lesbian groups marginalize transgender people.
You never completely have your rights. One person until you all have your rights.
So, Heretical Response says, are the anti-trans people those TERF morons, or is there another club that's out there, or just assholes? So, TERF stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. So, this is particularly feminists who say that trans women are an infringement or a threat to women's right in general. So these are cis women, or whoever identifies as a feminist, which is sometimes gay men, or even lesbian women. But these are just radical feminists that exclude trans women. Trans women are not included in that. In their minds, they think that trans women are simply men cosplaying as women, and it's some sort of what is it? What do you call it when you have a sexual thing, like a kink? They think it's a kink. They think it's just men trying to misogynistically infringe on women and take it over. And they see it as a why am I at a loss for words right now? It's probably because it's hard to think like them. But they see it as a mockery. They see trans women as a mockery of cis women. So, and they also term themselves as gender critical. They would say, I'm not anti-trans, I'm just gender critical, which is just another way of saying anti-trans. Yeah, exactly. These are the radical feminists that don't want trans women in quote unquote women's spaces. They don't want them using the women's bathrooms. They don't want them in the locker rooms. They don't want them in sports. These are the kind of people I'm talking about. And then there's just people who are just anti-trans. I mean, it's all lumped up.
With longtime friend Sylvia Rivera, also a transgender woman, Johnson founded STAR, Street Transvestites Action Revolutionaries. The term transgender was not widely used yet. The political collective supported and housed homeless LGBTQ+ youth and sex workers. During the AIDS crisis that began in the 1980s, Johnson helped spread awareness and raise money. She looked after sick friends even as she struggled with her own mental illness and became HIV positive herself. In 1992, Johnson's body was pulled from the Hudson River. Police first called it suicide, then reclassified.
Yeah, so Marsha P. Johnson's body was found in the river, and immediately police classified it as a suicide or unaliving. Immediately. But it has since then been reopened, and it's stated that it's unsolved. So I feel like the same thing's happening here. I think the same thing's happening here within this case with Nex. Ah! Did I just close all of that? I just closed all of my tabs. Look at that. They're gone. Whoosh. All gone. Twitter is really ugly with this stuff, but there's a lot of people that are in support of it. Let's see. This person says even if Nex Benedict did commit unaliving, which is extremely doubtful, the assault that put them in the hospital is still a hate crime. And a teenager committing unaliving after being the victim of a hate crime is still just as bad as the teenager dying from the beating outright. I have to agree. And that's what I said in the very beginning of all this. I said, no matter how it comes out, how Nex's death is determined, it's still a result of the bigger picture. As much as people would like to deny that. Let's see. Let's hear what this lady has to say.
At school and in their communities. Bullying is. I also want to address a heartbreaking development in the tragic loss of Nex Benedict. For parents across the country, and I know for many of you here and many of you watching, including myself, the cause of Nex's death was devastating to learn. As the president said yesterday, every young person deserves to have the fundamental right and freedom to be who they are and feel safe and supported at school and in their communities.
Now, something I really don't care for is Joe Biden's comment on it. Because I think this is just virtue signaling. Because, oh my God, why is this so small? So anyways, Biden says, Jill and I are heartbroken by the recent loss of Nex Benedict. Every young person deserves to have the fundamental right and freedom to be who they are and feel safe and supported at school in their own communities. Nex Benedict, a kid who just wanted to be accepted, should still be here with us today. Non-binary and transgender people are some of the bravest Americans I know, but nobody should have to be brave just to be themselves. In memory of Nex, we must all recommit our work to end discrimination and address the unaliving crisis impacting too many non-binary and transgender children. Bullying is hurtful and cruel, and no one should face the bullying that Nex did. Parents and schools must take reports of bullying seriously. My prayers are with Nex's family, friends, and all those who love them, and all LGBTQIA plus Americans whom this tragedy feels so personal. Know this: I will always have your back. This is where I call bullshit. To the LGBTQ young people across the country, you are loved exactly as you are. If you're feeling overwhelmed or alone, you can call or text blah, 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 the National Crisis Hotline, talk to a counselor. Okay, so, no, I don't think Biden has our back. I think Biden is close to the elections now and is going to use this to his advantage. While virtue signaling and promising a lot, but doing absolutely fucking nothing. Literally nothing. Yeah, sorry. Newsflash, I don't care for Biden. Newsflash, I don't like Biden. Newsflash, I think he's full of shit. So it adds onto it. And I just keep thinking about the fact, with all this in mind, I'm like, Nex should still be here. Right? All of this aside, Nex should still be here. And a lot of kids, queer kids, should still be here. And they're not. And instead of splitting hairs, we need to look at the bigger picture here. And the bigger picture is queer kids are not welcome. In fact, they're not even like recognized, and they're so infantilized, and they're treated as just these subhumans that can't make decisions for themselves and are confused in some way. And that's the bigger issue here that we're not looking at. We're not looking at the lack of adequate care for these kinds of kids. In fact, the only looking into it is to abolish it without actually understanding it first. And my question is why? I keep thinking about the video that Jessie Gender put out today, which I would love to like break into and watch now, but it's like over 2 hours. And remember the last time we watched an almost 3-hour video? It took us all weekend, which I will do again, frankly. And by the way, now that we're on that subject, we might be leaking this all into tomorrow. I'm definitely going to stream tomorrow. We're going to stream tomorrow. Unfortunately, Neogenian Oculus is not streaming tomorrow, so I will be streaming tomorrow. Somebody who gives me hope in this situation with Nex is Walter Masterson. Now, you all are familiar with Walter Masterson. He is the guy who goes to those pro-Trump rallies, and he goes and he trolls them. He's that nerdy, like, white-looking dude. And he has something to say on the situation that, frankly, gives me hope. Because I feel safer with people like him in the world. So here's what he had to say about the situation. And so he actually went to the school board where Nex Benedict was. And as you can see, he says the word killed, like straight up. He ain't pussyfooting it around. So check out and listen to what he has to say. I don't know why Twitter's sound is so low. I might have to figure that out someday. Better equalizing, but bear with me if the sound is low.
I understand we have one speaker, Mr. Walter Masterson. Mr. Masterson.
A more, woke school board would see the death of a child and work to make sure it never happens again. Not this board. This board sees a dead kid and says, that's a good start, because this school board signed up to protect all children. And by all children, they mean these children, not so much these children. Hate us if you want, but we're the good guys. We want to let kids be kids, and there's nothing more unnatural than a teenager experimenting with their identity. It has never happened before and should be punished. We're the good guys. We'll spit on a kid's grave, blame the parents, and tell our teenagers to hit them harder. We're the good guys. When we heard that a trans child had been beaten to death, our state senator, Tom Woods, immediately released a statement. We don't want that filth in Oklahoma. We can call children filth, even the dead ones, because, we're the good guys. Right? And if we're wrong, if God doesn't want us driving off the lepers and deviants and worshiping the bankers, if our God doesn't want us casting the first stone, if our God doesn't want us loving people despite their differences, well, if we're wrong, then I guess I'll see you all in hell. Thank you.
Yeah. He's really good at getting into the minds of the way these people think and sort of flipping it back onto them. And people like him just they give me a lot of hope in this world. And that was really good. So unfortunately, transphobia isn't just running rampant in America. It's running rampant in the UK as well. And who better to be the head of that than J.K. Rowling? Now, I already covered the beginning of this fiasco recently with J.K. Rowling in a previous video. And it all began with J.K. Rowling making a Twitter comment to a trans woman. J.K. Rowling making a comment about India Willoughby. Now, who is India Willoughby? India Willoughby is a English newsreader, a trans woman English newsreader, broadcaster, journalist, and reality television personality. And J.K. Rowling decided to make a comment about her, pretty much stating that she doesn't think she's a woman. She thinks she's, a man cosplaying as a woman. Which is really, disrespectful. Sorry, I'm pulling it up. USA Today. I don't really give a shit for USA Today. I'm trying to find her comment to India Willoughby, but of course it's not giving it to me upright. So anyway, somebody shared a gif of India Willoughby to J.K. Rowling saying which bathroom do you think this woman should, use? And J.K. Rowling made a snarky comment saying oh, I'm sorry, I don't see any woman there. I see a man. Which India Willoughby went and reported to the police as a hate crime. However, it's a non-violent hate crime. So let's look into this. So J.K. Rowling's dehumanizing, misgendering post reported to UK police because J.K. Rowling really does misgender people. She loves doing it. In fact, she's proud of it. So British TV personality India Willoughby says that she has reported Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, who has shared anti-trans rhetoric in recent years, to UK law enforcement for misgendering on social media. Willoughby, a co-host of the popular ITV network talk show Loose Women, revealed in an interview released Wednesday that she reported J.K. Rowling to the police after what she said. Willoughby added that she'd contacted the police yesterday regarding the matter, and this was previous this week. So the Loose Women co-host name was brought up on Monday after another social media user shared a GIF of Willoughby dancing in a comment thread under one of Rowling's posts on X, formerly known as Twitter. The British author replied, India didn't become a woman. India is cosplaying a misogynistic male fantasy of what a woman is. So that's, in a nutshell, what J.K. Rowling's idea of trans women is a misogynistic male fantasy of what a woman is. So Willoughby did have an interview with somebody saying, for J.K. Rowling to deliberately misgender me knowing who I am is grossly offensive. It is a hate crime. I don't know if the police report is going to be treated as a hate crime, malicious communications, but it is a cut and dried offense as far as I'm concerned, she said. A spokesman of the police department declined to confirm the identities of the complaint and others. Blah, 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 blah. So it started off with that and got that kicking off. And J.K. Rowling has lost her mind. And I've covered that. I covered that in my last video because since then, every fucking thing that J.K. Rowling posts online is completely focused on trans people. And I thought it was the end of that. And I thought it was going to be like, you know, calming down from that. Oh no, it just got worse. So here's where it gets worse. As J.K. Rowling is making her extremely, like, transphobic comments, somebody mentioned that trans people were involved in the Holocaust, to which J.K. Rowling called it a fever dream. Mind you, this is a grown-ass woman just randomly, like, commenting on bullshit. Here it is. So this really kicked it off on March 13th. So this was like 2 days ago. Somebody commented that the Nazis burnt book on trans healthcare and research. Why are you so desperate to uphold their ideology around gender? And J.K. Rowling responded with, how did you type this out and press send without thinking I should maybe check my sources for this because it might have been a fever dream? So now people are starting to realize that JK really hasn't done her research and is in pretty much denial. And this has been an ongoing debate on Twitter recently about whether or not trans people were involved in the Holocaust. Now, anti-trans people are claiming that the trans activists are saying that they were the star show of the Holocaust, which is absolutely bullshit. Nobody's saying that. I've brought up this issue. I've brought up the issue that in the original Nazi book burnings, trans research was a part of that. And I've been accused of making the Holocaust all about trans people. And I'm like, that's not even what I fucking said. Thank you for like not listening and incorrecting me. So it's just been this huge debate. And this is an area about how trans exclusionary radical feminism is going to lead to a fascist area, and we've already seen it before in history. And just to say that as a sentence to you, I know is like a lot to take in, but there's so much to go with that like we got to go into it, and it's a lot to take in. So, another good article by The Advocate. And also, a lot of like Holocaust historians are coming out and confirming that yes, trans people were involved in the Nazi book burnings. But let's get into the argument. Because back in the day, we didn't have the language that we do now. God, I almost just want to start watching Jessie Gender because it's like, I feel like it just explains things so well. Like jumping up, it would be great jumping off point, but like the show is like over 2 hours long. Oh, hey, Mark. Mark says Jews, gypsies, Roma people, queers, and university intellectuals who dare to disagree with the Reich were all murderer targets. Not with equal weight, but all targets. Yeah. So let's read this article and then we'll decide if we want to get into Jessie Gender's new video because it's fucking fabulous and it talks a lot about this. So J.K. Rowling questioned a social media post that mentioned this, but scholars point out that it indeed happened. Let me... Hey, where did my thing go? Oh, no. Oh, no. J.K. Rowling, a well-known for her anti-transgender stances, which is pretty obvious now because she talks about it every day and fucking night, like trans people live rent-free in her mind, recently questioned a social media post that said Germany's Nazi regime burned books on trans health care, suggesting that it might be a fever dream, that the poster should do some fact-checking. Well, the information is actually easy to check, and it is accurate. So a person said, the Nazis burnt books on trans healthcare and research. Why are you so desperate to uphold their ideology around gender? And she says, how did you type this out and press send without thinking I should maybe check my source for this because I might have been a fever dream? So a lot of people on Twitter are now calling J.K. Rowling a Holocaust denier, which might not be the best way to phrase it. I think a Nazi crime denier, that could work, but who gives a shit because she's doing it. So famed German gender and sexuality researcher Magnus Hirschfeld was an advocate not only for the rights of gay, lesbian, and bisexual people, but for trans people as well. His Institute for Sexual Research in Berlin housed an immense library on sexuality gathered over many years, and including rare books and diagrams and protocols for male-to-female surgical transition, according to a 2021 article in Scientific American. So Hirschfeld's Institute, founded in 1919, offered sex education and health clinics advice on contraception and research on gender and sexuality, both anthropological and physiological, the article notes. Hirschfeld also fought to repeal Germany's law against homosexuality and helped trans people obtain a transvestite ID card, which allowed them to cross-dress in public without fear of arrest, an arrangement available under the pre-Nazi German government known as the Weimar Republic. He hired a gynecologist and surgeon to perform gender-affirming surgeries for trans people. So yeah, that did happen. And keep in mind, transvestite was the word that they called things then. That's the word. A transsexual, a transvestite, that was the terminology back then. Like it hasn't come about till later that we started describing things and how we know things today as transgender. So, but after Adolf and his Nazi party came to power in 1933, the Institute became one of their victims. Not the whole victim, but one of the victims. Soldiers joined by private citizens attacked the Institute on May 6th of that year. Troops swarmed the building, carrying off a bronze bust of Hirschfeld and all of his precious books, which they piled in the street, Scientific American reports. Soon, a tower-like bonfire engulfed more than 20,000 books. Some of them are rare copies that helped provide a historiography of non-conforming people. It was among the first and largest of Nazi book burnings. Among the first. It wasn't the only one, but it was among the first. Okay, it was there too. The collection was irreplaceable, the article notes, adding that while images of the burning still exist and are frequently reproduced, most viewers don't realize the attack had anything to do with trans people or their medical care. Hirschfeld and his colleague Karl Geiss fled to France and continued their work there, but both died in the late 1930s. Likewise, the history of trans people's persecution under the Nazis has often been erased, with trans women classified as men, but recent research has clarified the matter. So that's another thing J.K. Rowling and these TERFs and anti-trans people are trying to say is that trans people actually didn't exist then. It was just gay, effeminate men cross-dressing. But it's like, that's exactly the narrative you're trying to say now. I mean, J.K. Rowling literally said that trans women is just a misogynistic male's view of women and just a cosplay of women. That's how it was described back then too. Interesting how that works. Okay. Also, Hirschfeld studied people who were already like living that way, right? It's not like he turned people into that. It's not like he just turned men to women for fun. He was already studying trans women, but they didn't have the vocabulary about that. That's what he was trying to figure out. So they just called them transvestites. In 2022, a German court heard a civil lawsuit that arose from an argument on social media about whether trans people were victims of the Holocaust. It is generally acknowledged that gays and lesbians were, but trans people not so much. So the court took expert statements from historians before issuing an opinion that essentially acknowledges that trans people were victimized by the Nazi regime. Laurie Marhofier, I don't know how to pronounce that, wrote in 2023 article for The Conservation, republished by Smithsonian and The Advocate. Soon afterward, the Bundesrat, Germany's parliament, issued a statement recognizing that both cisgender queer people and trans people were among the victims. So we know trans people were involved. It's not the whole thing. But that, like, who needs to explain that? Really, if you have to have that explained to you, I think you've missed the point on purpose for your own right. The Nazi government revoked the transvestite IDs that were available under the Weimar Republic, and then trans people are often arrested and sent to concentration camps, where many of them died. One of those experiences documented as Liddy Backroff, a trans woman and sex worker. Police wrote that she was fundamentally a transvestite and a morals criminal of the worst sort. A morals criminal? A morals criminal? Oh, dude, that is so me. I should put that in my profile. A morals criminal. Because I am. I'm a total morals criminal. But Croft was clear about her gender identity. She told the police, my sense of my sex is fully and completely that of a woman. And then she was killed in a concentration camp. So attacks on trans people are nothing new. Many of them are straight out of the Nazi playbook. And that's what trans activists mean by turfism or turf ideology or turf beliefs, anti-trans beliefs. Like the idea that men are just cosplaying as women, like that's precisely what the Nazis said about it too. But it has to be this tedious battle on Twitter, right? Like everybody's got to split hairs and everybody's got to try and make the narrative work for them. We keep bringing up tonight that you can take a fact and you could twist it to one way or another. Now, I've seen some bad ways of wording things on both sides. But I think the obvious fact here is that trans people were definitely included in the Nazi regime. And the reasoning for including trans people into the Holocaust is the same reasonings that's being used today. So perhaps it wasn't prevalent as it was back then. It wasn't a popular thing. It was a barely known thing. They were barely just coming to terms with what the fuck it was. It's not as prevalent today. Something else that wasn't a thing originally, homosexuality. Isn't that interesting? We didn't have words to describe trans people or transgender. We haven't had the words for like non-binary people, described like as that. There was a time where we didn't even have the word homosexual. We didn't even know what the fuck that was. Truly, honestly. But it doesn't mean that gay people never existed. We just didn't know what to fucking call it. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, we're definitely going to be streaming tomorrow too. So, homosexuality. The term homosexuality was coined in the late 19th century by an Austrian-born Hungarian psychologist, Carolee Maria Benkert. Although this term is new, discussion about sexuality in general and same-sex attraction in particular have occasioned philosophical discussion ranging from Plato's Symposium to contemporary queer theory. Since the history of cultural understandings of same-sex attraction is relevant to the philosophical issues raised by those understandings, it is necessary to review briefly some of the social history of homosexuality. Arising out of this history, at least in the West, is the idea of natural law, and some interpretations of that law as forbidding homosexual sex. References to natural law still play an important role in contemporary debates about homosexuality in religion, politics, and even courtrooms. Finally, perhaps the most significant recent social change involving homosexuality is the emergence of the gay liberation movement in the West. In philosophical circles, this movement is in part represented through a rather diverse group of thinkers who were grouped under the label of queer theory. A central issue raised by queer theory, which will be discussed below, is whether homosexuality and hence also heterosexuality and bisexuality is socially constructed or purely driven biological forces. Now, I would love to sit here and read all of this, but there's no way I'm going to read all of this. But this goes back to even in early ancient Greek and Roman days where they were aware of gay people, but they didn't call them that and they didn't think it was a thing. They just thought, oh, you were either sexual or you weren't. It didn't become a moral and religious dilemma till things changed over time with the introduction of Christianity and so on and so forth, religious ideals. This is a really good read by Stanford Education. the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. If you want to look into homosexuality, this is a really good read. And I feel like this is essentially the same thing as trans people. At one point in history, we weren't called anything because nobody really had anything to call it. It was called something else. It wasn't even recognized as a perversion. It only became a perversion over time when Western Christian morality came into view. So we're at the spearhead of the emergence of trans people becoming something that isn't a fabricated idea. We've always been around, we've always existed, and recognizing and pointing out trans people as a part of history is not transwashing history. It's not inventing places where trans people are. It's just recognizing that that's what that was now that we have the vocabulary and language to see it as such, where we didn't before. I mean, we all used to be called transvestites, for God's sakes. We don't use that term anymore. Things evolve, things change. We're definitely going to carry in tomorrow. Do I want to get into Liz Truss? Yes, I do. But not quite yet. Do we want, since we're, let's see, it's 8 o'clock now. I could stream maybe. I think I might do that tomorrow. I think I might live watch Jesse Gender's video tomorrow. What do you think about that? I mean, I would honestly, I kind of want to start it now, but I have all these other topics up, but I'll even stream on Sunday. God, wouldn't that be nuts? What if I streamed like Friday, Saturday, Sunday? We would all never sleep. Let's see. So all this stuff about like trans people in history and this whole like turf wars and stuff. Jesse Gender actually released a really good fucking video today that I had on in the background while if you're cleaning. And it's 2 hours and 48 minutes long. It's about just as long as the ContraPoints video we watched last week, which took us like 2 days to watch. So it's like, I really want to get into this, but I don't know if I want to do it tomorrow and finish some other subjects. Or what? What do you think? What do we feel like, chat? What do we feel like? Because I can easily alter things so we can just like cover things over time. What do you think, chat? Let me know what you think while I go pee. Okay. So Laura says it's kind of a late night to begin. Yeah, I think we'll start it tomorrow. But it is there, and it does branch off of this. Well, in that case, why don't we move along? Oh, hey, Mark. Good to see you. Recently, well, I guess we could bring that up later. Hold on. So J.K. Rowling is up behind things like this. England's NHS halts puberty blockers for transgender youth amid search efforts. So while this shit is going on with J.K. Rowling, there's this weird fucking debate of whether or not trans people were involved in the Holocaust or not. It's like on top of all that, we got Nex, this situation, this crazy Oklahoma senator that thinks trans kids are filth, J.K. Rowling who thinks trans people don't exist. And we have England's NHS halts puberty blockers for transgender youth amid research efforts. Okay. So England's National Health Service has banned the use of puberty blockers for the treatment of gender dysphoria or gender incongruence in transgender minors. Now, this is based on not very good things. Like, this is definitely lobbied in some way. The NHS has not stated it will restrict puberty blockers for non-transgender children and young people. So puberty blockers are still used in cases of cis children. So they will allow that, but not for trans children. They're not going to do that at all. So an NHS spokesperson told ABC News that the agency hopes to have a study into the use of puberty blockers in place by December of this year, with eligibility criteria yet to be decided. Here's the thing. Puberty blockers aren't new. They've been around since, late 70s, early 80s. So it's, and used to treat gender issues. So it's odd that suddenly we're going to call it experimental, right? They're saying that, oh, this is experimental treatment for transgender children, but it's not. It's been around since the 80s. It's been going on a while. It's not experimental. It's proven. And there's really not any risks associated with it, like people are trying to make it out to be, such as like anti-trans people. There's risks in any medication you take and any procedures you get. Children aren't having medical procedures, by the way, but it's just the use of these puberty blockers. One risk, for example, is loss of bone density, which you can just counter that by taking supplements. So anyways, an NHS spokesperson told ABC News that the agency hopes to have a study. The agency said it made the move after considering an evidence review conducted by England's National Institute for Health and Care Excellence. We have concluded that there is not enough evidence to support the safety or clinical effectiveness of puberty blockers suppressing hormones to make the treatment routinely available at this time. There is enough evidence. They just don't like it. Less than 100 young people in England are currently prescribed puberty blockers. Less than 100 young people in England are currently prescribed puberty blockers. Now, for less than 100 people, we're surely making a big fucking deal, right? Because apparently, according to TERFs and anti-trans people, children are just randomly turning trans everywhere. Well, that's not the case. Less than 100 people out of everyone in fucking England is not that much. So clinicians will also be able to apply for treatment for their patients under the NHS England's individual fundraising request processes, the agency says. No trans debate. Yeah, it's not a debate. It really isn't. When children experiencing gender dysphoria or gender incongruence reach puberty, physicians told ABC News that families and their care providers sometimes consider the use of puberty blockers to delay the development of transgendered characteristics, including the growth of breasts and facial hair, as well as changes in a person's voice. So puberty blockers are exactly as they sound. It blocks your puberty from happening, and it puts it on a pause until you can decide what you really want to do for yourself. So the Endocrine Society, an international organization of more than 18,000 endocrinologists, calls the medication fully reversible, because that's one thing that is being claimed, that puberty blockers cause irreversible damage. They don't. They're fully reversible. Like, you can have your puberty stalled and then go on to have it fully developed later. All it does is stall puberty. So once blockers are stopped, puberty continues with little or no proven side effects, according to health professionals. Puberty blockers allow more time to explore gender identity and allow families to determine their plans for future regarding gender and gender-affirming care. And the Endocrine Society states that the risk of using puberty blockers include low bone mineral density, headaches and hot flashes, and fatigue and mood alterations. Well, okay, so those are very minor things, right? Bone mineral density, like I said, take some minerals. Take some vitamins, supplements, headaches, hot flashes, fatigue, mood alterations. Well, I think kids are doing that anyways. Professionals who spoke with ABC News said that they haven't seen fertility issues in people who temporarily use puberty blockers. However, it's stated that at risk by the Endocrine Society based on when puberty blockers are used. All medications, surgeries, or vaccines come with some kind of risk. And gender-affirming care is no different, according to physicians. However, knowing the risks and benefits of treatment and of not treating a condition can help families make an informed decisions, physicians say. Thank you for the super chat, Morg. It's hard to read when I want to eat stuff. So the Gender Affirming Care Guidelines of the World Professional Association for Transgender Health and Endocrine Society state that physicians should thoroughly warn patients about potential for reduced fertility before administering hormone blockers and hormone therapy. Yes, there should be a lot of consultation before you start something, whatever fucking medication it is. There should be proper consultation and understanding. So major medical associations in the United States, including the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, and others agree that gender-affirming care is safe, effective, and beneficiary and medically necessary. Let's keep that in mind. Let's read that again. Major medical associations in the United States, including the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, and other associations agree that gender-affirming care is safe, effective, beneficial, and medically necessary. But by all means, there's people in the world that like to pretend it's like a hoax. And it gets worse. Some studies, including research from pediatrics and LGBT health journals, have shown that gender dysphoria and social motivation improved significantly with puberty blockers, and self-harm and unaliving decreased. In the U.S., at least 23 states have restricted gender-affirming care, according to the Human Rights Campaign. Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Iowa, Kentucky, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and West Virginia. However, several states have had their policies blocked by legal challenges. Critics of these U.S. laws say they are concerned about the impact such bans can have on the mental and physical well-being of transgender youth, a small and already marginalized population. Supporters of these laws say trans youth should wait until they're older to make decisions about their health. Yeah, about that. So yeah, that's nice of England, on top of J.K. Rowling being like their dark queen vocalization of that on a social level on Twitter. I don't know why these adults are like arguing with people on Twitter. I have no room to talk because like I'm pretty much there too. Sorry, I'm not trying to chew into the mic, but I'm hungry. Now, last transgender issue, according with all this. This lady in the UK, Liz Truss, is trying to pass a bill that disallows trans women from entering into sports, keeps them from restrooms and locker rooms. So Mary Elizabeth Truss, or Liz Truss, is a British politician who served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and leader of the Conservative Party from September to October 2022. After 49 full days in office, she stepped down amid a government crisis, making her the shortest-serving Prime Minister in British history. So what that sounds like to me is a failed Prime Minister. Sounds like a failed Prime Minister to me. So she put out a bid to reform transgender law. And the thing is, I don't understand how they do things over there. But from what I'm understanding from this is like, you have only a certain amount of time to debate a certain issue. And there's several people that get to speak. And some people in this instance decided to filibuster, which is a term you use for when you take up more time than necessary to sort of disallow somebody from being able to have time to make their points. I'm so sorry for eating this food right now, but I'm so hungry. I have some rice and a piece of fish and some carrots. And it's really delicious. In fact, what if I just like ate on stream and did nothing? Just watch me eat my dinner right now. I'd say it's mukbang, but it's like a normal dinner. OnlyFans. I mean, I am putting something into an orifice in my body. I guess I could see where eating is sexual. Does that mean eating is a form of face fucking? I don't know about that. I'm already in this now. Yep, I'm gonna finish this dinner. Great fish. Probably in an alternate universe I would do mukbang, but I can't. I don't want to do that. Nobody needs to see that from me. Everything's a kink on the internet? Yeah, why do you think people blur their feet out of pictures now? You ain't gonna see my feet. Yeah, no, you all have to pay to see my feet. There. Finish my dinner. That was delicious. The parliament is practically a brawl. Yeah, so I'm just getting into this, okay? I'm very naive in so many ways. So Tory backbenchers blame Labour for avoiding a debate on the bill, but it is understood some Tories were asked to prolong their speeches as well. Well, you could go fuck your face with something delicious. This is just like today, I think. So, Liz Truss, failed prime minister, attempted to ban transgender women from female-only spaces. Will not be debated after MPs talked out her proposal. The Commons was due to debate the former prime minister's proposed legislation on Friday, which would also have barred transgender women from participating in women's sports and stopped children attempting to change their sex. Wait, I like this one better. Boop. Why do words have to be so tiny? Lovely lady. A controversial proposal to ban transgender women from female-only spaces will not be debated after both Tory and Labour MPs were accused of filibustering a bill drawn up by Liz Truss. Tory is British for Republican, yeah. The former Prime Minister said she was furious at the Labour Party for preventing debate on her private member's bill, which would also have barred transgender women from participating in women's sports and stop children attempting to change their sex. However, it is also understood some Conservatives had been asked to prolong the earlier debates to run down the clock and stop Ms. Truss's bill from being debated, a tactic known as filibustering, although one Tory MP sought to play down the claims. In a statement, Ms. Truss said Labour don't even want to discuss how to protect children and single-sex spaces, let alone put those protections into law. Labour care more about ideology than protecting of children, than the protection of children, she claimed. It is vital that we legislate to safeguard single-sex spaces and prevent children from making irreversible decisions about their bodies. Ms. Truss was backed by Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch, who posted on X, "Just now, Labour MPs prevented debate on a new law to protect children and single-sex spaces. Instead, they use parliamentary time to discuss ferret name choices." Yeah, I guess I should bring the article up. Oh, God. Yeah, so this is what happened. Filibuster, I don't know. But yeah, so let me read this again because it's really funny. So, like, Ms. Truss was backed by Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch, who posted on X, "Just now, Labour MPs prevented debate on the new law to protect children and single-sex spaces. Instead, they used parliamentary time to discuss ferret name choices." They literally talked about choices of or names for pets. Possible names for pets. Which, frankly, I think is deserved because these bills that they're trying to pass to prevent women changing sexes and stuff like that is just so dumb. It's dumb. It's like it's based on nothing. Those libtards. So the Commons was due to debate the proposed legislation on Friday, but the bill was talked out after MPs spent 5 hours debating two other proposals from backbench MPs. In the debate on animal welfare, more conservative MPs than Labour MPs spoke, although Labour members provided the longest speeches, including a 35-minute contribution from Shadow Environment Secretary Steve Reed. Conservative backbencher Richard Fuller insisted members of his party had not sought to prevent the bill being debated, using a point of order to say it was only the Labour Party that was trying to talk out the bill. Accused by Tory backbencher Sally Ann Hart of trying to talk out the bill, Mr. Reid denied this, saying the subject was important to cries of rubbish from the Conservative benches. After hours was spent debating the animal welfare bill, so they debated the animal welfare bill, then proceeded to debate the bill on public procurement by Labour MP Sarah Champion, which meant there was no time for Miss Truss's proposals. So they were too busy talking about all this other stuff instead of little Miss Lizzie Truss's issues with trans. So Ms. Truss's bill has now been rescheduled for the 22nd of March, but will fall to the bottom of the list, meaning it is unlikely to be debated at all. On Friday, Downing Street did not say whether it would back Ms. Truss's bill, but it is understood that Ms. Badenoch is supportive of what it is trying to achieve. Asked about the bill on Friday, the Prime Minister's official spokesman says, "We welcome the sentiment set out in the bill, but not least because it is consistent with our own approach to fundamental importance of biological sex." So, interesting, all these players over there and all this stuff going on in this battle between trans and anti-trans, and frankly, this is why I get stoned. But that, alas, is the end of our trans talks today. And we shall be moving on and washing our hands of this. And we're going to be talking about moving on to something now, which is really funny. Andrew Tate. Remember Andrew Tate, our favorite fucking alpha male incel king. Yes, I have to wash my hands because they're sticky from my dinner, because even though I eat with a utensil, somehow there's food on my hands. So I'm going to do that. I will be right back. But yeah, so that is the end of our trans discussions for now. For now. Wait till we get to Andrew Tate. Okay. Take a break. Okay. Mark says, you've got to wage a filibuster to hold the floor from something awful getting passed. That's just the procedure that works by the rules of Parliament. I'm just getting into what the fuck Parliament even is. Why? Because I'm American, and learning anything outside of my own country is frowned upon. No. I don't have a garbage can in here yet, so I have to, like, pile my garbage on my desk. Le garbage. Okay. Got a fresh new root beer. I am so skeeved out. So I've been like really itchy lately all over because I don't know why, but there's ants everywhere. And I mean everywhere. And I don't mean like in a kitchen as in like my kitchen's like fucked up and dirty and full of crumbs. Like they're just like in random places. And I think they're trying to look for water or something. But they're all in my bathroom now, and they're like on my desk, and not like in bunches. Like you can't find a definitive like ant trail as if they're eating something. No, they're just scouting around, and every once in a while I'll find one on me, and it skeeves me out. So now every little tickly feeling I feel, I think it's an ant. Like I think the underneath my building needs to be sprayed for ants. Because this just isn't working out. Laura's like, Jan, you're not going to like this, but it's very true. Sorry, but peppermint repels ants. So if you put it around where they come, they won't. No mint. Nope, no mint. Not allowed. You're right. You are absolutely right. I do not like that. Weird. No mint. I use other things like harsh chemicals and poisons, okay? None of this natural remedied mint. We don't do that here. Okay, I am personally trying to graduate these Zetas to the next lifetime, all right? It's a graduation. I'm promoting them. I'm doing them a favor. Doing them a favor. Andrew Tate. We left off with Andrew Tate where he was being held in Romania for his crimes, or his supposed being investigated for his sex trafficking, right? We left off on that, which is taking a crazy long time, by the way. Well, anyways, something fucking funny happened because one of the little streamer boys that love Andrew Tate, his name is Aiden Ross, and he's like 23, okay? He's a child who has, who loves Andrew Tate, leaked that Andrew Tate is going to come and travel out of Romania, which he is not supposed to do. So this is the funniest thing of Andrew Tate getting arrested all over again because of one of his little fanboys. This is really fucking funny. Actually, he is again. He is again. I thought there was a specific lawyer reacting to this. Well, it's the same story.
Is it true that you're the reason the Tates are in jail or got arrested?
I think I'm part of the reason why something happened. I spoke to Tate, and I literally, yes, I'm going to take accountability. Up. Okay, I really up. And Andrew Tate's team confirmed that up, and Tate told me.
You know, every now and then we get a reminder of just how stupid people really are. And when it comes to streamers, there really is a lot of competition. But then there's Aiden Ross. Words alone cannot describe how much of a degenerate this guy actually is. And you don't have to have a legal background.
And Aiden Ross, for the record, I know we haven't done any deep dives into him, and there's a reason, because there's nothing deep there. He's a 23-year-old streamer who's like, he's dumb. Like, and I don't mean that as in like he has dumb ideas. I mean, he literally is stupid. Like, he literally, it's not that, it's not that he has radical ideas, dumb. He's just literally is a dunce. In fact, let's just put the dunce. Like, Aiden Ross is a dunce. Don't forget our dunce cap emoji. My new favorite emoji, the dunce cap. He is a dunce cap.
To appreciate the sheer level of stupidity on display here. And as per usual, it gets worse, because not only did he massively stuff up, but he still doesn't quite understand why he stuffed up and made up this massive lie that doesn't even make sense. Yeah, this one's weird. Let me break it down for you. So it all started last week when Aiden Ross was streaming on Kick, where he's the biggest streamer. Apparently he even owns 30% of the company as well. Anyway, on this stream, he thought it would be a good idea to flex to his audience by reading out a private message that he had received from Andrew Tate, word for word, live on air. Now, I don't know about you guys, but where I'm from, if you're mates with an international fugitive, maybe you don't read private messages out loud on the internet.
Andrew had hit me up. He said, hey, I'm going to be leaving Romania soon and probably never coming back. If you want to come over and do a week of long streams and content before I leave, I think it'll be big. And he said it's basically now or never.
Oh man, I've seen that so many times now and it still hurts to watch. Let me explain.
Did you see that? That kid actually got on and read a private message directly from Andrew Tate, where Andrew Tate says, "Hey, I'm leaving Romania," which I don't think he's supposed to. I don't know how, but... and then I'm never coming back to Romania. He read it out loud, live on stream. Like, this is the equivalency of, like posting your crimes to TikTok. This is like the dumbest fucking, like, and this is what I mean by Aiden Ross is dumb. Like, I don't mean he has dumb ideas or crazy ideas. I mean, he literally is dumb. Yeah, he's just a dumb idiot. And he's an ass. He's a dumb ass in the most sincere, strict definition.
So, if you're not aware, Andrew Tate is being sued by 4 women in the UK aged in their 20s and 30s over allegations of SA and abuse dating back from 2013 to 2016. Now, they went to the authorities years ago, but the police decided that there wasn't enough evidence to pursue Tate in a criminal court, which left the 4 women with only the option of suing him in a civil court. They didn't have much money, so they crowdfunded it, and the proceedings are still ongoing. Obviously, Andrew Tate denies all the allegations, as he does for all of his criminal accusations and charges. However, even though these 4 women aren't involved in anything to do with Romania, they've been keeping a close eye on Tate and his movements, which apparently includes watching Aiden Ross's live streams. So when Aiden quoted Andrew Tate saying this,
"I'm going to be leaving Romania soon and probably never coming back,"
those girls jumped on the phone to their lawyers to let them know that Tate was planning on fleeing Romania. How do I know this? Well, their lawyers published a public statement confirming exactly that. Here's what they said. "We are hopeful that the women who are the subject of Tate's arrest warrant today will have their cases handled and prosecuted differently to ours so that they get the justice they deserve. We are thinking of all the women Tate has allegedly hurt since moving to Romania, whose suffering might have been prevented if the authorities in the UK had acted sooner. We thank our lawyers, McHugh, Jury, and..."
Yeah, because I believe you're right, Mark, because I believe it's yeah, you're not allowed to leave the country, and I believe it was pretty much like a house arrest type of deal. Where, like, he was, like, in his house, but he wasn't allowed to go anywhere. It's like a house arrest.
Partners who have been campaigning for the UK authorities to prosecute Tate, even if not for crimes committed against us, and who wrote to the British police last week to urge them to immediately seek a warrant for Tate's extradition to the UK, following rumours of him planning an escape. We
Aiden Ross, you just started an extradition.
continue to fight for justice. Now, apparently those lawyers have actually confirmed to several publishers that it was, in fact, Aiden Ross's stream that led them to take action. But here's the important...
It's so funny. It's just so funny. It is the funniest fucking thing ever.
part. The UK authorities didn't apply to the Romanian government to extradite the Tates for the crimes alleged by those 4 women. It was for additional allegations made against both Andrew and his brother Tristan from other women dating from 2012 to 2015 back in the UK. And so the Romanian judge agreed to extradite the Tates back to the United Kingdom, but only after the proceedings in Romania have been finalised. Basically, even though they were released from custody, this puts the Tates back into lockdown, and if they ever try to escape, there's an arrest warrant waiting for them in the UK, which will make it difficult for them to travel basically anywhere in the world. There are more countries that have extradition treaties with the UK than the Romanians do. And here's the worst bit. Aiden Ross still doesn't understand what he did and why the Tates got arrested yet again.
Is it true that you're the reason the Tates are in jail or got arrested?
All right, so how this went down was they hit me well, Andrew hit me a few days ago, and he was just like, yo, like, come out to Romania, let's do some streams. And they just basically just like, you know, like, I don't know what's gonna happen or whatever, but I don't think I'm gonna be here. So the way I read it on stream was me kind of just trying to mask where he was at because of the swatting issues that I've gone through. I didn't want basically me to do a stream with Andrew and we get swatted, and they know I'm in Romania. So I think I'm part of the reason why something happened, you know, with him.
Because you like revealed the location, or
I was just trying basically to hide where he was gonna be for the stream we were doing to avoid swatting and stuff.
You didn't hide anything. You didn't hide a damn thing. You did the opposite of hiding. You did it wasn't that you didn't give a precise location, but you confirmed that Andrew Tate said he was going to flee Romania. Oh my God.
But I think
it is Aiden with an I.
I think I was part of the reason. Yeah, I feel bad. Tate had spoke to me and he said, "Dude, just come to Romania. I want to give my people and your people what they want to see. Let's do some content. You're okay, and I forgive you." Because I apologize. I felt bad, bro. Like, really bad. And I really, really feel bad about that, and I'm sorry. I honestly did not mean for that to happen. My motive and my reason speaking about location was because I didn't want to get swatted. So I basically, which was really stupid. I up, and I'm sorry.
Reach out to you about it?
Yeah, we had a little convo about it. It's pretty up, bro. I feel horrible about it. I'm not gonna lie.
That's why.
But I'm gonna go out to Romania. We're cool. He's like, yo, like, come out to Romania. Let's do some streams. I did. Up. I worded that really wrong. And as somebody who's on live 24/7, bro, up a lot. Okay? I really up a lot. I'm a really dumb individual. I'm very stupid.
Well, at least he's self-aware about his dumbness.
But I told you guys that I think I'm autistic in some ways. And again,
No,
guys, I don't know why.
no, that's not the issue. No, that has nothing to do with autism, honey. You're just plain old-fashioned dumb.
I worded it like this, it came out bad, and I'm sorry. And I didn't mean to do that, and I feel really, really bad. I really do apologize. I'm up, and I'm gonna continue up and continue to learn from it, and I'm sorry.
Well, it sounds like he's learnt nothing because he doesn't understand exactly what happened. He keeps saying that he worded it the wrong way and it came out the wrong way, and he was just trying to protect Tate's location from being swatted during their live stream. But we all know where Tate is. He's in Romania under house arrest. What location were you protecting? You literally told everyone that you were going to Romania to stream with him. Where else was it going to happen? And the real issue wasn't how you worded it. You read out the text message word for word and told him for his plan to flee Romania. That was the issue, not the way you worded it and not the location of the live stream. You snitched on your buddy Tate's plan on the biggest live stream on Kick. But the only person who really could rival Aiden's stupidity was Jake Paul in that episode of his podcast from yesterday.
Yeah.
Not only has he made a career of being Logan Paul's little brother and faking a career as a boxer, but apparently he's also living outside the Matrix. Imagine Jake Paul trying to act like he's red-pilled.
Did you know Jake Paul, I think it's tonight or this weekend, Jake Paul is actually fighting Mike Tyson. And as much as I don't like Jake Paul, he is a big boy, and they are physically pretty well matched. In size. And skill is the other thing. So this will be interesting. I bet that Mike Tyson will lose on purpose. I bet it's rigged.
That whole situation is wild that they're just like finding any reason to strip them down.
Yeah, it's super fucked up, bro. You know, I told you, bro. Like, they've only helped me.
Yeah, the Matrix is very scary.
Yes, it is.
It's very, very scary.
The Matrix.
So let me get this straight, right? Jake Paul's complaining about the Matrix being scary on his podcast uploaded to YouTube, which is sponsored by a gambling company which he owns part of, right after he announced his latest fight against Mike Tyson, which is to be streamed live on Netflix in July. Bro, you're balls deep in the Matrix. What are you talking about? And that's what I don't get about the people who defend Andrew Tate. He himself got rich off exploiting the very men who he now apparently seeks to empower, and he brags about it.
So I'm trying to teach these women, and the women kept fucking it up. So I said to them, it's like, you know what? F it. I'm taking over. So what I did is I unplugged their keyboards and plugged a new one in from me behind the screen. So the chicks would sit there and hit a keyboard that wasn't plugged in. And me and my brother, and eventually some staff I trained, would do all the talking. The girls were just pure, just famoosers, just laughing and doing this, their tits out. And they were talking to ice cold hustlers. We were taking their money, all of it. You get a man with game and give him a female's body, a female avatar. He will f a guy up. I had these guys selling their houses, life savings, loans, all of it.
So you scam people out of their money.
To me, give me it all. You'd have a guy.
Feel bad or no?
No, to give a solitary.
How much would you give them? Can you give us an idea of like how much money you were pulling on? Because I've seen you tweet about guys sending your girls like $1,000, $5,000 in cash just as a one-off.
Yeah.
And I know how desperate guys are. Like, what kind of turnover were you talking? And what kind of percentage would you give the girls?
Okay, so my best girl would do about $40,000 a month.
Oh my God!
Sean,
we're in the wrong gender.
Maybe.
And how much?
Is it 14 or 40?
40.
Oh, Christ.
Jesus.
And I'd give her $1,000 a week. I'd give her
$40,000 and you give her only like $1,000 a week? Scam. You're scamming everybody. You're scamming the men out of their money, and you're scamming the women out of their money.
$1,000. Okay, so that's generous. I mean, that's
so she gets $1,000 a week. She gets free rent. She ain't got to worry about nothing. If I travel or we travel, I pay for everything, whatever. But $36,000 a month, I'm keeping.
Wow. And that was your best girl. What was your worst?
Well, bro, I had
the first big money I ever made in my life. I first became a multimillionaire by running a webcam studio. So I had beautiful women sitting on computers talking to guys on webcams from all around the world. That's how I first made my money. And at one point, I had 75 women in 4 locations working for me, which was stressful and the wrong way to do it. I ended up removing my army and going to special forces of around 15 people, 15 girls. And me and my brother made a lot of money doing that. But the PhD course, the degree was teaching people how I managed females in those scenarios, how I controlled their emotions, how I convinced them to work and give me most of their money, how I could
Wow, you're such a peach.
convince them to share me with other women, why they obeyed me. So it was never so much about out there picking up girls. It was actually something else. It was more about the psychology.
So I don't know if many of you watching know exactly what his criminal case in Romania is all about, but it's basically what he just admitted to and bragged about in those clips. Exploiting women to make him money using the lover boy method. The guy literally used to sell courses on how to do it with a step-by-step guide on which computer to use, which webcam to use, how to set up the room so it looks authentic, how to get your ex-girlfriends to work for you and not have to pay them, and how to manipulate them psychologically to do the work for you, etc., etc. Now, let me just say, I do agree that Andrew Tate is a target, and he has been for a few years now. I personally don't agree with most of the things he says, but I think that's separate from his legal troubles. The reason why he's in so much legal trouble is because he screwed over so many people, and obviously for political reasons as well. A lot of the things he says are controversial, but none of these cases would have been possible if not for the hours and hours of evidence he's uploaded to the internet over the last 10 years. I mean, I only just played you a couple of minutes, but like I said, there is hours and hours of instructional videos and guides on exactly how to set up these businesses, which are illegal in most countries. So I get that he's a massive target, but man, he did it to himself. Anyway, that's my breakdown of the whole Aiden Ross situation. Tate obviously still hangs out with the guy.
I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I could read an article, but it's going to say pretty much give you the same fucking information. But I think it's really funny. Really funny. Moving on to just touching base with politics. If you notice, it's going to be another year of Trump versus Biden. That's what it's going to be again. We are down to the old economy. And that's, I don't know what else I just wanted to bring that up. I'm like, here we go again. And let's see. I think one of Trump's cases is being put on hold. Let's see. I thought I had that article up. It's like the hush money one. Hush money trial. So yes, it's true. Judge delays Trump hush money trial in New York. Judge overseeing Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial in Manhattan agreed to delay its start, injecting more uncertainty into the legal calendar for the former president. The trial has been scheduled to begin on March 25th. A new trial date is yet to be determined, but not likely before mid-April. The announcement follows a contentious back and forth between the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and the Trump legal team over the production of tens of thousands of documents turned over this month by the Department of Justice. A lot of things going on there. So one of his biggest trials is getting delayed. It looks like there's he's there. He's up and running. He's there. He's up there. He's on up there. It's going to be another Trump and Biden thing. I don't know if I'm getting tired, but I feel like I have nothing more to say on that issue. And let's see. What time is it? Man, we've been streaming for 3 hours already. I think I'm on my last topic of the day, which is about the TikTok ban, but frankly, I might just save that for tomorrow. But in the U.S. government, we'll just go over it briefly. It'll count. The TikTok ban is kind of arising from the U.S. government, mostly conservatives, sort of creating this hysteria that apparently TikTok, which is made by China, is kind of responsible for, I guess, young people going pro-Palestine. When really the conservatives would like to stand with Israel. So there is going to be a motion to ban it, in which case hopefully will force China to sell it. This gets complicated, and I'm like, my brain is tired. It's like, this is a pretty big issue, but I'm like, my brain is fucking tired. Why is TikTok banned? Many countries have imposed... Oh, Wikipedia, we don't need to read you. The U.S. House of Representatives has approved a bill that could force the app's Chinese owner, ByteDance, to divest from the company or face a ban. The U.S. government moved a step closer to banning TikTok after the House of Representatives passed a bill on Wednesday, just this Wednesday, calling for the app's Chinese developer, ByteDance, to divest from the company or be booted out of U.S. app stores. The Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act passed with it's an act called the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications. It passed with overwhelming bipartisan support, receiving 352 votes in favor and only 65 against. I'm going to blow this up because I can't fucking read. Many House legislators have argued that the app could allow Chinese government to access user data and influence Americans through the wildly popular social media platform's addictive algorithm. While White House has blocked the bill, with President Joe Biden saying he would sign it if it passes Congress, which Joe Biden is behind this, Legislators and the White House, however, are at odds with many of TikTok's 170 million users from the US, representing roughly half the country. Half the country. So half our country is using TikTok, as well as civil liberties and digital rights groups who say a ban would infringe on freedom of speech. Well, of course it will. That's kind of the point, right? In the meantime, the bill still faces hurdles, including clearing the U.S. Senate, the upper chamber of the U.S. legislature, where the path forward is far from straight. The bill will face a new round of scrutiny from legislators on both sides of the aisles and potential competition from different versions of the ban. So why does the U.S. want ByteDance to divest from TikTok? The battle over TikTok is the latest front in the U.S.-China competition, and Washington's attempt to thwart potential foreign influence campaigns. In the case of TikTok, U.S. legislators fear that ByteDance could be secretly controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. Oh my fuck, this is all back to the Chinese spy balloon. The company has denied the allegation that it shares sensitive user data with the Chinese government. ByteDance is not owned or controlled by the Chinese government. It's a private company. TikTok CEO Xiao Chu said it in a testimony before the Congress in March. But Chinese regulators have a history of cracking down on domestic tech firms. Beijing is also well known for its censoring politically sensitive content and restricting users from accessing Western social media and sites with its Great Firewall. It's true, China is completely separated from the rest of the world when it comes to internet access and what you can see online. Marco Rubio, the Republican vice chairman of the Senate Selected Committee on the Intelligence, expressed many of these fears this week when he said at an annual hearing on worldwide threat assessments that every company in China is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, including ByteDance. Okay. They happen to control a company that owns one of the world's best artificial intelligent algorithms. It is the one that is used in this country by TikTok, and it uses the data of Americans to basically read your mind and predict what videos you want to see, he said. Oh, God. Many legislatures and White House believe that the sale of TikTok to a qualified buyer like a Western company would cut off Chinese influence. Okay, so pretty much the American government is like, we don't want this because we think that this is being controlled by Chinese communism. So we're going to ban it from our country and essentially try to force the owner of that to sell it to a Western company. The bill, however, does not stop there, but opens up the same provisions for other foreign adversary-controlled apps, or the operation of a content recommendation algorithm, or an agreement with respect to data sharing. This could include other popular Chinese apps for apparel companies like Temu and Shein. Well, who cares about them? They shouldn't even exist anyways. Following in footsteps of other apps like Grindr, in 2020, the Chinese owner of the popular gay dating app was forced to sell for $600 million over national security concerns that app data could be used to blackmail Americans. What does TikTok say? TikTok has denied the charges leveled against it, although it hasn't been very effective in convincing U.S. legislators. CEO Chu's testimony before Congress last year was widely perceived to be disastrous, as he failed to assuage concerns about Chinese influence over the app. The Chinese government owns 1% stake in ByteDance and controls one of 3 board members in the Beijing-based company. Okay, so they do have something to do with it. Critics, though, they say the hearing was unsuccessful in part due to grandstanding by legislators. One notable incident saw Chu, a Singaporean and military reservist, grilled on whether he supports Chinese Communist Party in scenes reminiscent of the U.S. Red Scare of the 1950s. Will the bill become a law? U.S. President Joe Biden has said he would support a TikTok divestment bill, although there is a rival version from Senate Democrats that say is currently stuck in committee. The Senate's restricted act empowers the Department of Commerce to act directly to ban apps controlled by foreign adversaries, whereas the House Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act starts at the White House. While the House version has pulled ahead for the moment, it still has to be approved by the Senate and then signed by President Biden before it become a law. So this would be a challenging task in ordinary times, but 2024 is also an election year, which I think really has something to do with it. You know, it's election year. We really need to jump on who's controlling the information. It's possible that progress may be delayed until after November vote. Possible. How much more to read? My voice is giving out. Who opposes the TikTok ban? Well, you can read more into it. But that's pretty much what's going on in a nutshell. And holy shit, it's been over 3 hours. So tomorrow I'm going to go live and we're going to find something cool to watch. I think we're going to watch the Jessie Gender vid tomorrow. So if you want to know more about how trans exclusionary radical feminist and anti-trans people roots in fascism, join us tomorrow. And specifically Nazi fascism. We're going to do a deep dive into that. We're going to watch Jessie Gender. And yeah, we're going to react to it. We're going to commentate to it. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be just like we did with ContraPoints. Only I think I'm going to get started a lot earlier tomorrow just because, you know, I don't want to have that to be broken up into 2 different streams itself. Maybe. We'll see. So, my face hurts. My head hurts. And my throat is dry. I'm going to go lie down. Anyways, so good to see everybody. Yes, we will be going live tomorrow. Join me tomorrow for some Saturday fun. Some watching time, getting into some ideas and dissecting things. So join me for some more trans talk tomorrow. Trans rights talk tomorrow. And thank you so much to our moderators, Mark, Elise, Cassie. I think Susan was in here at some point. And Laura, thank you so much for all your support. Everybody who super chatted. All my members, you are lovely. Lovely people. And I hope you all join me tomorrow. Keep an eye out for the stream setup for tomorrow. Sleep well tonight. Get some sleep. Go for a walk in the morning, and we'll see you tomorrow. All right? All right. Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night. Mwah.